Okay, trying this again from the top. Good morning, class, and welcome back to the Nerd Academy podcast. I am your host, Jared the Dark Jedi Bachman Stubbs, and you can find all of us here at the Nerd Academy podcast, along with our other shows, Knights of the Nerd Republic and Campus Life, on our website, www.thenerdacademypodcast.com, as well as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also check out our YouTube channel where we have all our shows up there as well. Our main shows are released weekly at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, wherever you listen to podcasts. And don't forget to check out our Patreon, where every donation helps to keep the lights on around these parts. And without further ado, this week on the show, maybe, we have Travis Blackleader Grossman.
Can crack.
Oh no, that means we lost the crispest can crack ever.
No!
Now we'll edit it back in. That's fine.
Yeah, we'll find it. We'll find it. We also, yeah, somewhere out there. We'll have to ask our SBI agents for it. We also have Joel the Sentinel Basin back.
Hey, everybody. This is attempt number 2 because of multiple issues with our systems.
Joel and I don't know what attempt this is because we've been...
We've just been riffing on talking about Apple and Samsung.
Yeah, it's been a hoot while they could not hear me because of the shitty internet connection while I was just crying into my computer, trying to figure out how the hell to make this work. COVID-19, you son of a bitch, you. This would not be happening if everybody was in the same room. With that, Travis, just checking real quick. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. How was your week?
I'm going to sum it up real quick because I took a long slice of life in in version alpha. Capitalism is a crime. Everyone is lying to you. They are not taking precautions against COVID-19. They don't care about their workers and they don't care about you. Moving on.
Yep.
In other words, he's not getting hazard pay.
I'm not getting hazard pay.
And they're not limiting the people that are going into the Walmart.
Yeah.
Or rather, they are. It's at 969.
932. But close enough.
Nice.
Nice.
I love how Joel made an executive decision that the shitty 69 joke had to stay in, no matter what.
To be fair, though, it wasn't me the first time. It was Jared.
Yes, it's a surprise to nobody. Joel.
Yeah.
How was your week?
It was good. I've been being productive, or at least I like to think I am. I am currently reading Harry Potter y la Piedra Filosofal. So it's in Spanish, trying to keep up on my Spanish minor and studying for the MCAT. I did say in Project Alpha or version Alpha here that I was having a rough day today because I slept until about noon, and Travis said he did about the same. And I just took an Excedrin about like half hour ago, so I'm feeling a lot better than the headache that I was having all day. I worked out today, and I went to the woods. ... to golf a little bit. We have a bucket of balls from going golfing, my father and I, so we always pick up a bunch of extra balls from the woods and use them as our own personal driving range. So we went out for Easter yesterday and
there you go.
Practiced a little bit, feeling ready for the season as soon as it starts. We was watching some Masters 2019 to watch Tiger Woods again. Yeah.
I'm just going to be honest. I'm just really happy to hear everybody's voices right now.
You were silent for a minute. I got kind of scared.
No.
It's like, well, none of that got picked up on the audio.
No, I was just intently listening and just on the edge of my seat, ready for tragedy to strike again.
Yeah, I'll also add that I am constantly editing the YouTube videos for our YouTube channel. Check it out.
Yes, he is. I'm just really nervous now. Everything is just so touch and go right now, and I'm freaked out, waiting for something stupid to happen again. But yeah, and with that, knowing that the other two are still here,
Yes.
we're going to talk about Thor Love and Thunder and the fact that Taika Waititi is a mad lad. So, this past week, Taika Waititi did a Thor Ragnarok watch along in the same way that James Gunn and Zack Snyder have all done with all their comic book movies as well. And over the course of the watch along, Taika Waititi danced around and did confirm and deny a couple rumors here and there about the upcoming fourth Thor movie. That was hard to say. He gave a very roundabout answer on the whole Beta Ray Bill speculation, basically saying that... What was that, Joel? 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 Fuck.
And he's gone again.
No. I was just quiet. I am so sorry for the episode that everybody's going to hear this week. This is a clusterfuck. I stopped the recording for a little bit of that.
On the producer end, we'll get it.
Okay, I believe in you guys. I trust you both very much. Taika Waititi was talking about Thor Love and Thunder. He said the Beta Ray Bill is a yes, no, maybe so situation. He didn't really address much of that. He, with some amount of clarity, did deny the rumors that the Silver Surfer would be appearing in Thor Love and Thunder. He showed some concept art of what New Asgard will be looking like under Valkyrie's rule, as well as showing an interesting robot exoskeleton for Meek that kind of put him in like a kind of curvy. The robot's kind of thick, which you guys can see in the links in our show notes. But yeah, everything's been really funny from Taika Waititi as usual. He told a very funny story about how his kids cut his hair during the quarantine, as well as how his daughter apparently punched him square in the nuts and refused to apologize for it. So
wow,
I'm sure the Waititis are having a great time during quarantine, and it looks like they will not be getting any siblings anytime soon after that little encounter. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Good. We're going to keep moving.
So here's my thing. Thor, Love and Thunder. I'm not really sure about the premise of which it's going to be about. I haven't really been following it really at all. But you said New Asgard under whose rule?
Valkyrie.
Right. Do we know if we're going to actually have another Asgard being built, or are we talking more on the Earth front, a new destination? I don't know. I'm not familiar with the anything. So
from the concept art he showed, it looks like it will just be the area that the Asgardians were occupying in Endgame. So that little coastal bay area that we meet Bro Thor in during Avengers Endgame. That's on
Earth.
That bit, yeah.
Okay.
You saying that reminded me of another bit that I forgot to mention. With a little bit of hinting towards what we could be going for. Taika Waititi mentioned that we would be seeing space sharks and made some jokes about that. And between the space sharks and the fact that he said that there would be there would be inspiration from the Jason Aaron run of Thor, which checks out not only with the space shark thing, but also because Jason Aaron was the one to introduce Jane Foster as Thor, which we know we're getting in this movie, as well as the fact that that also introduced Gore the God Killer, which is one of the characters a lot of people have been speculating that Christian Bale might be playing. So we're starting to have a rough idea as to what Thor Love and Thunder is going to be like. Obviously, nothing set in stone. And like we said last week, there is the new release date of February 28th of 2022 for that movie. And I think it might be one of my most excited Phase 4 movies. Or one of the movies that I'm most excited to see, rather. I'm not even speaking coherently, even though they might be able to hear me now.
I can hear you.
Okay, good. Yeah, very exciting stuff. Travis, thoughts on Thov and Lunder?
So this is definitely up there with my most anticipated Phase 4 movie. I'm sad it got pushed back. I'm happy that it gives him some I mean, like, all of these pushbacks give people breathing room and, like, room to make the movies what they really want to be. So I'm excited to see what Taika comes up with for this one.
Yeah, he even said that much as well. Like what you were saying, Travis, with the whole this gives people extra time. He even mentioned like this gives us time to make sure everything is as fine-tuned as it could possibly be leading up to release. So, you know, it's a blessing in disguise if you make it one. Unfortunate circumstances, of course, but people making the most of it in the ways that they can. With more COVID-19 comic book movie related news, James Gunn says that Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is moving right along. Despite all the coronavirus issues, it has not really been by everything in the way that a lot of the upcoming movies have been. His direct Volume 3 are exactly the same as they were before coronavirus. So it looks like Guardians is trucking along just fine. Obviously, it's in a very early pre-production stage. He said before he wouldn't really be doing much with Guardians 3 after his work on the Suicide Squad is done, which makes sense. But yeah, good news for that. Doesn't look like it's going to be a part of the onslaught of movie delay, such and so on.
Yeah, it's so far out that, like, if it had been delayed, that would have been weird.
Yeah, I agree. But it's good to know that, like, the pre-production can still happen as is, and that it can, it's not being brought into a screeching halt the way a lot of the other movies have been, even with stuff that's in pre-production, like Love and Thunder and so on. But a lot of that has to do with the release date shuffle. Real quick, before we move on from our Marvel news, we have it's 1 year this week, and this past week as well, depending on where you're from. The release of Avengers Endgame. We are 1 year out, rather, from the biggest movie release of all time. 1 week since Avengers Endgame came out. And yeah, this is a big time for all of us. You know, a year ago this week, Game of Thrones is beginning its completely uncontroversial final season. Avengers Endgame came out. We got the first trailer for The Rise of Skywalker. The world and geek culture itself was a very different place a year ago. And yeah, I just kind of wanted to look back on Avengers Endgame while we had the opportunity to. Travis, how was your first viewing, I'm assuming opening night, for Endgame?
It was fine. It was great. The movie was great. The movie's still great. That's about it. I said this in chat. My thing with doing a retrospective on the movie is that nothing else has come out besides Spider-Man. So there's no way to actually, like, look back and, you know, where we are now, we're still in the same place.
That's fair. That's
like,
very fair.
The movie is still fantastic. You know, nothing has changed.
Yeah, that's fair. I was thinking about, like, maybe doing like what was opening night like type thing.
Lots of very packed and people shouting about a certain person lifting a hammer.
See, when you describe it like that, these movies sound very silly and boring. A man in a spangly outfit.
You know what hasn't been silly and boring?
What?
You cutting out.
Son of a bitch.
Which is what I'm trying to avoid by getting through the not new.
That is also fair. Joel.
If you haven't watched Avengers Endgame, shocker, it's fantastic. Go watch it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Joel, your brief retrospective on Avengers Endgame.
Well, you see, I don't even really remember what it moved about.
What?
I'm kidding.
You threw me for a loop on that one. I was like,
No, I'm slightly kidding. I'm slightly not kidding. It's been a while since I've seen the movie, but no, I don't think you can forget such a masterful piece of work that was, and a culmination of what was it, 22 other movies,
yeah,
21 other movies,
21 of the movies.
21. Yeah,
but absolutely. I mean, even still. Now, I'll tell you, I was on Disney Plus the other day, not sponsored, and we should be sponsored. But anyways,
yeah, all the free publicity we're giving them.
and I was scrolling through the Marvel movies, thinking, "Oh, what should I watch? What should I watch?" And I was scrolling through, and to me, all I could watch were the earlier movies. And then I realized how much of a switch it was between the storylines, and how it just kind of switched gears whenever Infinity War came out and the later Avengers movies. Anyways, trying to get to the point here, and I realized how much I kind of didn't want to watch them. The Infinity War movies, and Endgame, unless I watched all three in one sitting.
Interesting.
So I don't know if it exists yet, but I feel like Infinity War and Endgame should be in their own box set, the three of them together, because I think it's a lot more.
Of them.
Isn't there part 1 and part 2 of Infinity War?
No,
it's just Infinity War.
Oh shit. Maybe. Wow.
You can tell the quarantine's getting to Joel.
Yeah, it's really, really working. I have a massive headache still.
In your defense, they originally said that Infinity War and Endgame were just Infinity War Part 1 and 2. So that's probably how that got into your head.
Probably is, and I'll take the out. Thank you, Jared.
You're very welcome.
So I think the two of them, anyways, should be watched together, and I did not have the time to do so. But I don't know. Do you guys also get that feeling where you're just kind of like, I'd rather watch one of the earlier movies than the most recent?
Sometimes.
I see. I'm the reverse of that. Where like my favorite movies and my favorite moments in the MCU are when everything is at that fever pitch and when everybody's on screen together, because I just love those ensemble moments in movies. So I find myself more often than not gravitating towards Infinity War and Endgame, because I like seeing the culmination of everything. However, Joel, I do remember that one day whenever we were working on like the very early website and stuff like that for Nerd Academy, that we were watching Iron Man 1 and just with our jaws like, how did this happen? And how did we come so far from like this movie about a playboy jackass learning to not be a douchebag anymore to, there's gods and aliens and magic and a spider boy and a man who shrinks and shit.
Now, don't get me wrong. I think both are very essential in the whole arc of things, and I appreciate the wide spectrum of storyline. You know what I mean? The fact that they didn't just stick to one expected or easily imagined storyline. Instead, they went something very. I mean, granted, okay, we're talking them following the comics, but
yeah, I think, but even with that, the whole following the comics thing, I think the MCU has done a very good job of knowing when to switch things up from the source material. Obviously the original Infinity Gauntlet storyline happened in the 90s, and we got Civil War in the mid 2000s. And as far as the MCU is concerned, we get the Civil War before the Infinity Gauntlet story. And I that's one thing, just looking at how grand scale the planning was and the way everything came together, all the little payoffs, from everything to the trying to figure out what's an Infinity Stone, what isn't, the way all those seeds were sown, all the way up to, the cheeseburgers thing with Morgan Stark, which, gets me every time. But yeah, I Travis, like you said, very packed theater when I saw it opening night, and not a dry eye in the room for all the right scenes. Recently, they did show off an alternate version of Black Widow's death, which I would have preferred. That's floating around there on the internet, where instead of the fight between Clint and Natasha trying to figure out who was going to throw themselves off a cliff, they get ambushed by Thanos' army on Vormir. And Natasha is wounded several times by his army, and it's basically a moment of her going, well, I'm going to die anyway, so I'm going to end the fight now. And whether or not she realized how it would work, she very narrowly saves Hawkeye from Thanos by him being teleported away once he acquires the stone. So it's a fascinating movie that I think is very difficult to try to needle at, unlike a lot of different comic book movies of different things you can fine tune and change up. I can't imagine tweaking Endgame, if that makes sense. It's just so very much part of the rest of the universe that I don't think you can change it without having to retroactively alter the other movies for that to work. So yeah, Avengers Endgame sits atop the throne for the MCU for me. I know a lot of people that's kind of goes back and forth between that and Infinity War. But yeah, Avengers Endgame, 1 year later. Go rewatch it. Or do what Joel's saying and watch them both back to back. Travis, you want to take this next story, buddy?
LOL, what's the story?
Did you say what's the story or what's a story?
What's a story?
So a story is something you tell people. It typically has.
This was not in here when I checked the notes before, so.
You're right. It was not. I added it 40 minutes before we started because I forgot to. And I've been talking for a while, so I'm throwing a Batman story to somebody else.
The Batman will not be an origin story, says director?
Yes.
Says director. Yeah, that's... I wanted to not do an origin tale, but a tale that would still acknowledge his origins. I don't like the wording of that sentence. And that it formed who he is. You don't say, Reeves. You don't say.
I think that's a smart move. When it comes to superhero movies that nix the origin, The Incredible Hulk comes to mind in the way that they just kind of montage through Bruce Banner getting his powers and everything. And I appreciate that take a lot. I like the fact that it's just how the Hulk operates. Same thing with Spider-Man in the MCU, where they go, yes, Uncle Ben, power, responsibility, spider bite. Okay, here we go. And I think it's smart. I don't think we need to see the Waynes get murdered for 100,000th time.
I don't either, but I have a feeling we're going to.
Yeah,
the same way we did in BVS, where it definitely wasn't necessary, but they put it in anyway.
Yeah, I think if they were to do... I think the issue with BVS's version of the origin story is that you could have just shown that in a very brief flashback, or even in one of his night terrors.
Yeah, if it had just been in the Night Terror, that would have been one thing. But the fact that the movie opens with the slow-mo,
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I think if they just show in some fashion, in a very quickly edited, leaving the theater, Joe Chill, bang, bang, pearls, screaming in front of the bodies, Batman. I think that's all you really need. I also think that makes it interesting that since this is, as they've said before, early into Batman's career, it doesn't sound like, with the whole phrasing of it acknowledging the origins, that we're necessarily seeing him once he returns to Gotham. A year one situation where we're literally seeing the beginning of Batman not to hearken to the movie Batman Begins, but we're seeing
What we all thought this would be.
Yeah, myself included. Yeah, exactly. Like I was expecting Batman Year One, essentially, and not just Batman Year 2 or 3. So that's a very interesting change, and I think that will affect the way that a lot of people speculate on the movie moving forward. But yeah, good stuff. Joel, your thoughts?
I don't have thoughts for this one. I'm gonna just kind of soak it in and accept it for its simplicity.
Agreed. I mean, I think we do have to see the Waynes get murdered in some way, shape, or form. If the theory that the bat symbol is the gun.
1 hour and 45 minutes of the 2-hour runtime is just going to be the Wayne murder on loop.
I hope at one point that like Robert Pattinson mentions his mother being named Martha over and over and over again, and every time looks directly down the barrel of the camera.
If I just like, and her name was Martha. Back to
just grins, and there's like a little twinkle in his smile when he does it.
He winks.
He winks at, he bat winks at the camera.
Fuck off.
And as he's driving away in the Batmobile in the very end, you just hear him yell from the car, "Geez, I hope I don't meet any other superpowered people named with the mother named Martha." Let's like that be the thing as he drives away. And that's
he
how
also
you
shouts, "Also, the Snyder Cut is real."
I can't wait to get back to the Batcave to watch the Snyder Cut. It's canon. The Snyder Cut exists, guys. We know it. With that, we have one more actual story here we can hop into. In the show notes, for those of you who are going to look at them, I did put the subscriber cover for the Empire Magazine issue that has the other Wonder Woman image on it. Very beautiful imagery here with all the very neon pop colors. However, the other cover is inside the article we linked. We have some new stills from Wonder Woman 1984. We have one of Steve Trevor and Diana kind of embraced in front of the Lincoln Memorial, if memory serves me. The article is loading for me currently. We also have another one of her in the Golden Eagle armor. Yeah, every time I see more nuggets of Wonder Woman 84, I get more and more excited for it. Obviously loved the Wonder Woman movie back in, holy Christ, 2017. And I'm very the sequel. The movies as of late have done a very good job of just kind of doing their own things, tone and aesthetic wise. From Shazam and Birds of Prey and Aquaman. So I'm very excited to see what this movie has to offer by not necessarily being bogged down by the DCEU, as it were, because it can kind of be its own thing in that tenuous continuity and has the freedom to just kind of riff and do whatever it wants to. Again, these stills look great. I love the golden armor. I can't wait to see that in action. And I'm very excited to see what exactly is happening with the Steve Trevor being back, obviously. But yeah. Thoughts, gentlemen?
Looks neat. We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah, I can't wait.
All right.
My money, though, is on the date getting pushed back again.
Oh, you think there's going to be another delay?
I think so.
What?
I don't want there to be.
I want to see what its current release date is. Oh, okay. I didn't realize how. I thought they pushed it back further. I didn't realize it was already only slated for June.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was August.
No, it's
You're right. It is June. It's when we talked about it before. It was June. I could definitely see it getting pushed back again. Then
yeah. I think you're going to be right, Travis. I would be surprised if it gets.
when am
It's.
I not right?
I mean, you're right. Damn, that worked. You set me up for that one. That was clean. Yeah, with that, and again, apologies to those of you listening. The brevity of this episode is definitely noticeable, but we're moving at a decent clip here to avoid further technical difficulties like we were having earlier. With that, what we've been doing a lot lately, gonna keep that going. Joel, what have you been watching, reading, playing, so on and so forth to get you through the quarantine?
Well, as I started the episode off with talking about how I'm reading things in Spanish, trying to finish up my Spanish minor at the university, I'm reading the first book of Harry Potter in Spanish. Other than that, the entirety of my intellectual capacity is being taken up by reading MCAT review textbooks. So those of you listening who are planning on going into the medical field in some capacity, it's okay if you want to cry.
I wouldn't blame anybody crying right now, regardless of your chosen field. I think a good cry is in order these days.
Absolutely. I do have some friends who are having some mental breakdowns, but that's okay. It's expected. And I feel so bad for those people who have mental illnesses during this time.
Yeah, incredibly so. It's difficult. Like I said earlier, in Project Alpha, as we've lovingly dubbed the shit show that was the first version of this episode. I was telling you guys, like, I just saw in my Snapchat memories that the last April Steel City Con was today a year ago. And like I had that moment of like, oh man, like I miss my con friends and I miss, playing grown up dress up. And then I'm like, well, Travis is on the front lines. Like, what the fuck am I complaining about? I have, it's the, first world problems type thought.
I mean, your complaints though are valid.
Everyone's emotions are valid.
You're absolutely right. Yeah. It's just,
Mine are just more valid.
Yes.
I'm a hero.
You are
just
a hero.
ask my bosses and the media, because I'm a hero and that means I don't need to be given hazard pay. I'm not bitter.
Does Superman ask for a paycheck when he fights Darkseid, Travis?
No, he just tries to rule the Soviet Union. On that note.
Yeah, Travis, What are you watching this week?
Last night, I finally picked up my copy of Superman Red Sun, the animated version of one of my favorite Superman books, in which Kal-El of Krypton, instead of landing on the Kent farm in Kansas, lands square in the middle of Cold War-era Soviet Union. And you get to see how that unfolds, with roughly everything else being in the same place. Lex is mostly like a government contract crazy scientist. He's married to Lois Lane. Superman, I can't call him Clark because his name isn't Clark. Superman is, at first he becomes an icon for the Soviet Union. Then when he finds out about like prison camps and gulags, he kills Stalin and becomes the new leader of the Soviet Union. It's a very interesting story. They adapted it into the animated movie very well, I think. Except for not except for the ending. The ending's wonderful, but the ending for the original story is really, really cool. because they can do that because it's an Elseworld story.
You did say that they fudged the ending, and Red Sun has been out for a little while, and I'm curious, what did they tweak? Because you said that they changed the ending some.
So the way the final fight, quote unquote, happens is Luthor and Soups team up to beat Brainiac. And when they finally defeat Brainiac, Brainiac's like ship is set to self-destruct, and Superman knows he can fly fast enough, so he flies the ship off. So the blast doesn't destroy Earth. He's presumed dead. And as time goes on, they honor Superman as a hero. The Soviet Union falls. Luthor was president, but he's become a good guy because of having Lois in his life. And so they honor the fact that Superman was a good person, just not an American good person. The world under Lex is stepping down from the presidency, but his science is now going to help the world instead of just going to kill Superman. So the world rapidly evolves. The House of Luthor over time loses some letters and becomes the House of L.
Oh, nice.
And then one of Lex's distant relatives, Jor-El, has to send his son Kal off-world as the sun's about to consume the planet. You get where I'm going with this?
Yeah, it's like poetry. It rhymes.
So they don't do that in the animated movie.
Naturally. What do they do?
They just have Luthor stepping down from the office of president, handing it off to Jimmy Olsen, which is very unrealistic because we wouldn't have a black president in the 1980s anyway.
No, not at all, especially if he's in the CIA because it's cool.
As a matter of fact.
Wait, he's in the CIA in this one too?
He is I don't know if he's secret. I forget what his official designation is, but he's assigned to Lex in the early stages of the story. He's assigned to Lex as basically a government babysitter.
Naturally.
That over time they become friends, and when Luthor becomes president, James is his vice president. And then Jimmy wins the election and becomes actual president. But in Luthor's speech of moving on from what's happened, he steps off, and Lois and him talk about retiring to a remote island, and they look out into the crowd, and you see Superman in his Clark Kent reporter get up, where he's wearing the trench coat and the hat and the glasses.
Nice. So they did keep the whole him allegedly sacrificing himself to stop Brainiac's ship from destroying the planet. Okay, so they do keep
that's all there.
Because when you say that they tweaked the ending, I was like, oh, do they not do the whole Brainiac thing? Okay, never mind then. That makes sense.
No, yeah, they just don't have the fun little House of L bit. Which I like. I thought it was neat.
Yeah, I like that too. I like seeing the good guy Lex Luthor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Injustice does that very well as well. Especially because you get to have the main Earth Justice League have that moment of, whoa, what the fuck is Lex Luthor doing here? He's like, no, I'm not a douchebag here. I'm okay. I'm not evil Mr. Clean. But yeah, that sounds really good. Is that on DC Universe yet? I'm assuming not. No? Okay.
That's why I purchased it.
Yeah, that's what I figured. And I was going to be like, oh, go watch it on DC Universe. And I was like, no, that doesn't make any sense.
You can buy it digitally, so if you would like to.
Yeah, I might try to buy it digitally or see if I can digitally rent it. But yeah, thank you, Travis. I like that. Anything else you've been up to other than Red Sun?
I beat Assassin's Creed 2 again. Just cause.
Of course. Still hold up?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I love it. I'm finding that a lot of problems I've had with Assassin's Creed storytelling are just in every game. And most of the problems happen to be with the real world part of the setting.
Yeah, Yeah, that's consistent for them.
So I'm probably gonna play Brotherhood next because I also really like Brotherhood. What else? I think that might be it. I was too tired to do anything over the weekend, so
Understandably so. Again, you're a hero, Travis, and that's your only payment you'll be seeing from anybody.
yeah. Do I get to wear a cape? Oh, okay. So I mentioned this on a comment on Facebook on a thing you tagged me on. Have I explained to you what the kilt revolt is going to be?
No, but keep talking.
So at work, they finally cracked down. In our dress code, the only people that are allowed to wear shorts are the cart pushers. And they used to like not care if we wore shorts because in those back rooms where we unload trucks, the walls are literally just, it's a layer of cinder block. So whatever temperature it is outside, it's that times 10 in the room. If it's hot outside, it's boiling in the room. If it's cold outside, it's freezing. So they've never cared about us wearing shorts, especially like this time of year as it gets warmer and it gets really hot in that back room. And especially now that we're running around more. I think in version alpha I explained the automated line.
Yeah.
But long story short, we are now running a slower unload where we have to run around more. And it gets very hot back there. And we're not allowed to wear shorts now because they care all of a sudden. But the rules don't say anything about kilts. Skirt. And you bet your goddamn ass I am showing up to work in a kilt.
Hit up Spencer. He might loan you his.
Like, I'm trying to get as many people on my side as possible. Because, like, that's generally how we get them to back off of dumb rules. Like, at one point, they tried to tell us we couldn't curse in the back room. Which, like, obviously, if I'm out on the sales floor, I shouldn't be saying the fuck word. That's not good for business or whatever. I actually don't care. But especially, like, in the back where there's no customers, no one cares.
Yeah.
No one can hear us. And when they made that rule, I went out of my way to say some of the most ridiculous shit that wasn't a curse word possible.
Such as?
Well, liquefy that and pour it down my urethra.
Joel, that is your mission to isolate that clip and save that, please.
Okay, what was it?
Nope, not repeating it.
I'll find it, don't worry.
But I said that in front of a manager, and they looked at me and went, all right, you can say fuck, Jesus Christ.
And that is how you outsmart the bourgeois.
Well, the worst part was the reason they put the rule in place was because I almost got killed in one of those trucks, and I ran out screaming, every obscenity known to man. And they were like, you can't be doing that. And I'm like, you can't be sending trucks stacked like dog shit. It's like a 2-year-old took a box and fastballed it into the truck over and over again. That's how those things get fucking stacked. It's the worst. And they're like, well, here's a step stool to reach the top of the walls. And I'm like, oh, yes. So now not only am I getting trampled by boxes, I'm falling. Excellent.
Oh, you work too hard for this shit. You do too much for that evil company, and I respect you for it. And again, that's your only payment. This is my respect.
Your respect and being called a hero.
Yes.
You're right.
I hope you wear a cape and a kilt to work.
I'll do both.
I'm counting on you. I will loan you out a cape, and Spencer can loan you out a kilt. I'm
gonna sneak in. Do you hear the people sing, and look revolution songs into my work playlist, and then play it through the line? I did that over Christmas. I snuck in "All I Want for Christmas Is You."
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
It was the funniest shit.
The OG Mariah Carey version, I presume.
Oh, of course.
Oh yes, of course.
It's not as funny if it's because like any other version, you could be like, okay, I don't like the song, but this version's kind of nice. But with the Mariah Carey version, we already heard it so much over our own radio, right?
Yeah.
That suddenly it's just like, why is this not the Red Hot Chili Peppers?
You know what you could do to just like really upset your coworkers is just play the official Walmart podcast.
I haven't listened to any of it yet. I just know it's there.
One of these days I'm going to run dry of shit to listen to over the course of the week, and it's going to be like, I'm listening to the Walmart cast. See how terrible this is to listen to. Oh, that's funny. You're a gas, and I will never get tired of Walmart stories. For me, I have not watched a lot. I've been playing a lot. I'm slowly getting not terrible at Grand Theft Auto.
Oh, we gotta change that.
Oh, I for the first time in a very, very long time have almost had the I'm gonna throw my controller through a fucking window moment. Because I know griefing is a very bad problem that this fandom has in the online mode. However, I didn't realize quite how bad it was until the other night while I was playing. And literally every time I spawned in, some jack fuck in a tank rolled up on me and blew me to hell. And then I'd respawn. And then just as I got back into the lobby, I could see the little tank coming back up on my mini map. And, you know, most players don't have the artillery to fight back a tank, especially because, you know, by the time you see them, they've already fired a rocket at you, and you're dead instantly. And then I was dealing with that for about a half an hour and was getting really upset. And then some other jackass decided to start helping him out. So he was flying around in this like, because the game added all of these like really like cool, ostentatious vehicles that in theory are like really fun to have around, but are a total pain in the dick to deal with if you don't have one. So already there's some asshole in a tank. And then some other guys flying around and like a discount version of the DeLorean from Back to the Future. Only as opposed to just being able to time travel like in Back to the Future, this one just has laser cannons and a rocket launcher on it. So if I wasn't being blown to hell by the jackass in the tank, I was getting bombed by the asshole in the DeLorean. So eventually I just bought all the ammo I needed to replace everything I spent trying to defend myself, and then turned off the console and cried myself to sleep. But yeah, outside of that, I've been having a lot of fun with that. You know, the stories where you get to play the bad guy are always fun, and it's very. I like the universe it creates, like in the same way that I like the John Wick movies, with the whole very kind of campy and silly criminal underworld that exists in those movies. That little element there I find quite amusing, with all of the unbelievably complex criminal enterprise going on in the GTA lore, if you will. I've been doing that, and I've gotten almost my entire family to watch Tiger King finally. So I've been doing. Well, Logan, I've been with him for a lot of his watching of it, so I've gotten to rewatch a good bit of Tiger King, and just watching Logan shake his head at, you know, oh hey, here are some condoms with my face on it. Vote for me for governor. Have been a lot of fun. So yeah, that's a lot of what I've been doing. I want to finish up some of the comics I bought not too long ago, because I haven't finished any of them yet, and I'd like to. And now's a good time to. And I keep forgetting that I have that at my disposal because I'm not used to having comics on hand. But yeah, lots of fun stuff there. I've also been watching some of Community, which I highly recommend. I highly recommend. I'm slowly getting through.
It just got put on Netflix, right?
Yeah.
Or has it been on Netflix?
From what I understand, it was on Netflix for a while. and then it left, and then it got added again. And I think that they're like trying to add something from that like lexicon of NBC must-see sitcoms to just like hold down Friends' place for a little bit until all the NBC stuff starts coming off of Netflix for Peacock. But no, Community is hilarious. I absolutely love it. Joel McHale is funny as hell, and it's nice getting to see Donald Glover before everybody knew the Renaissance man that he was. Like back, like it's fun watching him, knowing that when people were originally watching this, he was just the funny guy on Community, not realizing, he's also working on all this music. And he's also, writing for 30 Rock. Some of 30 Rock's best episodes were he had a hand in. So it's fun seeing Donald Glover before everybody knew just that he could do anything better than anybody. So yeah, it's lots of fun stuff there. With that, Joel, where can the lovely people find you, sir?
You all can find me on Instagram and only Instagram, but at 2 locations, Bass and Bacon Cosplay and Jay Bates and Back Photography, where you can see all of my lovely photographs.
Oh, I hate that you're changing it to lovely because we can't make fun of you for your gaffe like 5 weeks ago.
Yep, on purpose. Thank you very much.
You are no fun at all.
Travis, where can the lovely people find you?
They can find me trying to start a revolution on Twitter and Instagram at Travis Political.
The Lord of Thunder sends his regards.
The Lord of Thunder, what?
Do you remember whenever Valkyrie comes in, it's like, the Lord of Thunder sends his regards or something like that?
Oh, yeah, that caught me off guard. I was like, wait, is that Travis's new name?
Said, we're starting a revolution.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
I gotta print off some flyers. Gotta make sure everyone knows.
Didn't print enough.
I was going to say, is Travis the Lord of Thunder now, or are we retiring the Great White Hope?
Please, can we?
I'm okay with that.
No.
Finally?
We'll take a vote collectively and see how the rest of the team falls on that.
Okay, fine. I'll accept that.
Democracy at its core. You guys can find me following Travis into battle for our workers' rights, goddammit, on Twitter and Instagram at DarkJedi2552. You can also find the Nerd Academy podcast on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube as well for video versions of our podcasts, as well as on our Patreon, where if you're feeling generous, you can chuck in a couple bucks and help us keep the lights on around here. With that, thank you for listening, and class dismissed.
Your homework is to eat the rich.